Ah, hey, girl, hey. Hey, boy, hey. What's up, Carol Cole? Marilyn, all about Mika, Lulu in Jersey, Sterling Gray, Richard Outing, Geraldine, Michelle, Patricia, Melody. What's that? Leslie. Hey, Leslie. What's that said? I have Stacy Ivory. Hey, Craig, I got your first two books. I love them. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate that. Hey, Mimi. Let me get my little Dasani to flavor my water. You know how you want a little something sweet, but you don't want to drink juice? Yeah, just put a little bit of this flavor in here. Y'all stay away from that Crystal Light and aspartame. Hey, P. Marcel, Sherry Kuntz, Donna Brown, Jamal Owens, Letitia, Shanika. Hey, girl, hey. Hey, boy, hey. Oh, let me go ahead and through this little Cash App real quick and give my thank yous to the people that sent something through the Cash App today. It is $5 Friday, but more importantly, today we are discussing Book of Jewels, Chapter 2, Dating. I'm very excited about this chapter. This is one of my favorite chapters in the book. Oh, dear God. Hold on. I'm trying to get over here to this. Here we go. All right, so let me say my thank yous real quick. I want to say thank you to Jose Roble, Datis, Kawadas, aka Deacon Santana, Tara B, Crystal Woods, Jackie, Carol, Kesmira. Thank you very much. I appreciate those of you that sent something through there. Hey, Fryer. Hey, Donna. Hey, Keisha Heritage. Bianca. What's up, Bianca? Over there in Pensacola, New Jersey. She laughing out loud in the doctor's office. They looking at her like she crazy. She thinking about something I said the other night, just bust out laughing. They looking at her like, what's wrong with her? Donna said, I really learned about you from your books. Thanks for sharing. You're very welcome, Donna. Donna, do you have this book, Book of Jewels? We're discussing Chapter 2 tonight. Next Friday at 9, we're going to be discussing Chapter 3. We're going to go all the way through Chapter 11. Next week is Love and Fear, my second favorite chapter in the book. Hey, Marie Dixon over there in Richmond. Look at GT. GT talking about, what's $5 Friday? You know I'm new. Let me help you, niece. You know, so $5 Friday, the origin of $5 Friday was for when I was planning a book tour. This was my last book tour. And it was for those supporters that wanted to help support the book tour because, book tours are expensive, like traveling, buying plane tickets or renting cars, paying for hotels, or eating out while I'm out, Uber while I'm gone out of town. So it was just the supporters' way of helping me to subsidize the cost of the book tour. And it just kind of carried over and, so I appreciate it. Hey, Fryer Cam. Fryer said, I'm new too. So we need to get you over to CraigTheWriterStewart.com so you can purchase all of the books if you haven't already. But I'm ready to jump into this conversation. Are you guys ready? I'm going to share the link for those of you that would like to come on camera. I don't care if you have on your bonnet. I don't care if you have your hair rollers in. I just want to have some good, healthy conversation about Chapter 2, which is the dating chapter. Now, you may not be finished with the book, but if you finish Chapter 2, I want you to come on and I want you to have your notes. I got my highlights ready. I've already highlighted the parts that I wanted to discuss. Let me get over here to this really quick. So I got my highlights. I'm going to read certain portions, and I want us to have a conversation about certain sections of the book. I want to hear how it impacted you. Yeah, you can just send it through the Cash App, GT, or through the Zelle, Cash App or Zelle. And the information is scrolling on the bottom of the screen, the Cash App or the Zelle. Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig the Writer Stewart, and this is the Facebook and YouTube live versions of So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. So again, I've dropped the link down here. Those of you that want to come on to discuss Chapter 2, you're welcome to do so. Just click the link and just come on board. All right, so I want to first start by discussing why I wrote this dating chapter. So again, for those of you that are brand new, Book of Jewels it's 11 chapters of the biggest life lessons that I've learned. So each chapter represents one of those lessons. So tonight we're discussing dating. And so in this particular chapter, I share with you different things that I learned in my own life as it relates to dating. So mistakes that I've made. And I don't even know if I want to call them mistakes. They just were lessons that I've learned. I write about in my 20s, like when I was in my 20s, how I was kind of thirsty is what people call it now. They call it thirsty now. I talk about an experience that I had with a guy who was in graduate school. He was working on his PhD. And I was so interested and I was so enamored by him. And I wanted to get to know him. Like I had met him at the gym. Well, actually, I didn't meet him at the gym. I used to see him at the gym. And then I ended up meeting him out one night at a club. And I was so excited to try to get to know him. And I just kind of did too much. You know how sometimes you can just do too much? Say amen if you know you've done too much before in your life because you were just too excited about somebody too soon. And so anyway, I wrote this particular chapter because I don't know if you guys remember a book that came out many, many years ago. It was called The Rules. You remember The Rules? It was called The Rules. They were two white women. They were co-authors, and they wrote a book called The Rules, and it was like the dating rules. And it was like, it was basically like, it was before Steve Harvey put out Think Like a Man, Act Like a Woman, or whatever it's called. But it was two white women. They had co-authored this book, and it was called The Rules. And when that book came out, my mom said to me, and remember, I hadn't even thought about writing any books at this point. She said to me, you need to write a book about dating. She said, but you need to write it for like gay people, like LGBTQ people. And I was just like, I ain't writing no book about that. Like, I just didn't think that was, But I ended up, when this book came around, I ended up writing this chapter because there were so many things that I learned in my own experiences. And there were so many things that I watched my friends go through and family members go through that I was able to glean from. And so I wanted to package it and put it all in here because now with the advent of social media, I think there are so many people that make critical mistakes. And a lot of people are wondering, like, well, why am I single? And I think part of it is because of quote unquote mistakes that you make, certain dating patterns that you make. Am I going to be the only one that's going to be on here discussing tonight? I guess. But anyway, so I open each chapter of the book with an original quote. And so for the dating chapter, the original quote that opens or frames the chapter is, we all deserve love without suffering first. We all deserve love without suffering first. And what I mean by that is, I think there's this unspoken idea that when you're talking about women, when I think about women, there's this unspoken idea that when women are in relationships with men, that there's this expectation, there's this unspoken expectation that she's supposed to be ride or die. And everybody has a different idea of what ride or die means. For some people, ride or die means that she's going to hang in there with him through the thick and the thin, no matter what he drags her through, whether or not he has a baby outside of the relationship, or whether or not he cheats, or, she rides out through his prison sentence if he is someone you know, if he by chance goes to jail, like, is she supposed to be there for him when he finishes his bid? So, but I believe that we all deserve love without suffering first, and I don't think that a woman or a man should have to go through that in order to get to love. And even in terms of, I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine when it comes to Jay-Z and Beyonce, because I did a podcast about 444, which was his last album. It was called 444, and in the album, on that album, he talks about something about he'll never be what she deserves or something like that. And he was saying something on the album about why did they have to go through this whole cheating thing in order for him to have these certain revelations, to have these certain epiphanal moments about their relationship. So I'm going to bring Dwayne on. Hey, Dwayne. Hey,
Craig.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I guess, Dwayne, you're the only brave soul that's coming on today to talk about dating. Everybody scared?
This is a good book. I mean, this chapter is really good. I can relate to a lot of it. I'm a little older. I'm 47, so okay. My story is a little bit different. I mean, I was married for 10 years to a female.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was married for 10 years, but I was separated after 5. But I also was married to a male as well.
Really?
Yes.
One proposal, he got married to a man and a woman. Okay, so I want to hear a little bit about this. Can I dig a little bit?
Yeah. I got married when I was 21, and I thought, I was in the closet for a long time, and I thought that was the thing to do. I was the only son and I had 3 sisters, and my parents they had been married. My parents, as of date, they had been married for 45 years, but my dad was a Marine for 30 years.
Okay.
And so, macho, I'm the only son. So I got married, and after 5 years, I figured, it wasn't fair to my wife that I felt the way I felt, so I separated.
So when you were married to her, were you dating guys at that point?
I had started, yeah.
So
the end of the marriage.
So it's safe to say you were cheating.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Did she ever find out?
No.
Okay.
And no, actually, go ahead.
I was gonna say, after the fact, once you separated or and divorced, did you have a conversation with her?
No, honestly, we never had that conversation.
Okay.
Never. And the other part of it, I had a son in that marriage. Oh, so wow. I have a son.
Okay. So you were married and you were married to a guy. So how long after the marriage ended with the woman did you meet the guy and marry him?
Well, the guy, there's a lot of in between.
Okay.
After 5 years of being married and I separated, I dated a guy for on and off for 10 years. Okay. I divorced 10 years. We were married, actually, me and my wife were married for 10 years, but I'm divorced after the 10 years. And I was in a relationship for like 10 years with another guy, and that didn't work out. And then I met my husband 10 years later, and I was with him for 9 years. Okay. And he's deceased he's been deceased for 2 years.
Okay. So what were some of the immediate things that you pulled from this particular chapter? Like, were there things that came up for you in terms of your dating experiences, whether it was with the female or with the man?
Well, more with the men, the brokenness.
Your brokenness or theirs?
Both.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of mine was I grew up with a lot of now that I'm older, I understand. I had a lot of toxic masculinity.
Can you break that down for the people listening? I know what you mean, but I want to make sure everybody's picking up what you're putting down.
What it is I was more like I'm more masculine. I don't want to be seen as, I have my own interpretation of gay, and how I viewed gay people, feminine people, I didn't want to be seen in that manner. If I was dating a guy, I wanted him to, pass,
He
you
was
know what I'm saying?
able to pass.
Right. I
Right.
wanted to be able, say again?
You wanted him to be able to pass it straight. You wanted to be able to walk
Exactly.
the street and not be able to be clocked.
Right. When I was with him, I wanted people to, like, my family members would be like, he's not gay. I'm like, yeah, the ones I knew that knew who I was at the time, they were like, is he gay? I was like, yeah, he gay. And they're like, nah, he don't look like he's gay. I said, well, what does gay look like? You know what I'm saying? But, I wanted to be able to go shopping, go to the mall without, everybody looking.
Yeah. No, I understand that because there was, and I think I talk about that in this particular chapter.
You do.
I do. Okay. So there was a point where for me, it was almost like a confidence builder. It was almost like a high if I could pull a guy who was DL or extremely unclockable, because in some way that meant that I too had to be unclockable, because if he was willing to walk down the street with me or go to eat someplace, then that meant that we could both pass. And so
Exactly.
it fed my ego. It fed my ego. But something that you said a moment ago, it kind of triggers, like on page 21, it's the very last sentence on this page. It says, I've met and dated some really broken men. And I too was once severely broken.
Mm-hmm.
What's important to note is that we're all at different stages of our brokenness. So naturally, I came into contact with men who lacked emotional maturity and emotional intelligence because I was once a person who didn't possess those qualities. It's karmic energy. The disappointments that I've experienced in dating and love are from energy that I had put out. So it had to come back to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like there are instances where now when I'm dating and I encounter someone who is emotionally unavailable,
Right.
who's not communicative, who just can't express themselves, like how they feel about me. I have to remind myself. Well, Craig, you were that person before. You had to grow to the person you are now, because it's easy for us all to say, "Oh, I'm a great catch." I'm guilty of saying, I know I'm a great catch. I'm husband material. Hell, I got a T-shirt over at story.com that says husband material. But I have to remind myself, Craig, you weren't always husband material. You had to evolve this. And so you have to give people the room, the latitude to graduate to that as well. And if you can't give them the space to do that, then you need to back up. And you need to let them go and give them the space and the time to evolve.
Evolve, yeah.
And there was another section here, and this is on page 20. This is the first thing that I highlighted. We bring the sum of our life experiences to every relationship or situationship, those encounters that never quite graduate to relationship status. We're influenced by every person that's touched our life negatively or positively. Every relationship that was modeled for us as children. Every relationship that we've heard stories about. And every relationship that we've participated in. All of those experiences help shape what we think, feel, and believe about love and relationships. And I really...
You know what I believe, though? A lot of, for me, right now at my age, I believe that in my relationships that I had with males, I think now that I try to view it as heterosexual relationship.
So you try to heterosexualize your relationships?
Yeah, because that's all I knew. You know what I'm saying? I see my parents and my sisters, be married, and I was married, and I was married to a female, and I always when I was in my relationships, I always felt like instead of looking at it in a different way, instead of always looking at it as a man-woman relationship, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the older I've gotten, I don't view it in that manner anymore. And I try to look at it in a different way because I don't think I can treat a man like I treat like my mother and my father are. You know what I'm saying? In that sense.
Yeah.
You kind of get what I'm saying?
It doesn't translate equally.
Right.
There are some elements that do. You know what I'm saying? And
of course.
But, you know, and it's like I say all the time, like for me, I want partnership. Like I want a partner that isn't intimidated or threatened by my power. And I say that in here somewhere. And when I say my power, I mean just all of the things that make me who I am, or all of the things that make you who you are. You know, whether it's your intelligence or whether it's your ambition or, you know, whatever those things are that make you who you are. You know, those qualities that draw people to you. I want a partner that doesn't feel threatened by those things. And that's what I found.
It's hard.
It is hard. But there are things that will translate, but sometimes there are things that just do not. In terms of roles in the relationship, when you're talking about same gender loving relationships. And oftentimes
my first male relationship that I was in love. I was young, I was in my mid-20s. I was in love with this guy. Until this day, I still have this real, you know, deep love for him. The issue with me was I'm a go-getter. I've always worked. I work very hard for what I want. And he wasn't that type of person. You know what I'm saying? I think he was kind of spoiled. He didn't have a lot of confidence. Later on, I found out in himself. And so my theory was two gay men together, we could conquer the world. You know what I'm saying? All you gotta do is do your part. If I could do me, I can take care of me. You take care of you, and I can take care of me. We can take care of each other. But you got to bring it to the table. You know what I'm saying? And he just couldn't. He couldn't do it, and it caused us not to be together.
Well, for me, when I always talk about partnership, is because I really think that's one of those things that I don't think we've really figured out.
Right.
I think lesbians have figured it out more so than we have.
Why is that?
Because, well, first of all, because even though women can be prideful or proud, and women can be egoic, I think generally speaking, women have a better handle on yielding all of that ego and pride, right? Women usually balance each other better than I think two men with all of this testosterone and this innate feeling or desire to lead and to be right. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and we were talking about partnership, and we were talking about joining forces financially.
Right.
And oftentimes two men struggle with that, because you're too proud that I make more than you. Like you said a moment ago, you said you're 47 and I'm 43. Yeah. Let's say I make more than you and you and I are in a relationship. Oftentimes,
I'm good with that.
You're cool with that?
Yeah.
But see, all men are not cool with that. You know what I'm saying? Their pride is when I was 20, I was in my 20s. I can't remember how old I was now, but I was dating a guy and he was like 6 years my senior.
Mm-hmm.
And we made the same amount of money. He was 6 years old and he could not handle it. He didn't like it. And so that was a layer, or that was a point of contention for us. But then also I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and I'm going to finally get this point out because I keep cutting to something else. But, but when it comes to us joining forces financially and saying, okay, this is what I make. Okay, what do you make? We're not always transparent. We're not always transparent with our feelings, but we're certainly not always transparent with our finances. And so if you and I are dating in Atlanta, let's say we both lived in Atlanta and we're dating, and then I got a job opportunity someplace else. Oftentimes, you're not coming with me. It's almost like our relationships are bound by geography.
Mm-hmm.
If I get a job in LA, you're not coming with me?
Yeah.
Dwayne,
I mean, it all depends. Listen, if for me, the type of person that I am, like, okay, so my husband, I'm from Indiana, okay? I grew up in California, but I'm from Indiana originally, okay? And I lived in Indiana and I moved back, I was back and forth from Indiana to California. And right now I'm in California. But I met my husband here in California.
So you're married?
No, my husband's deceased.
Oh, that's right. You said he was deceased, right? Correct.
He died 2 years ago.
Okay.
And my husband, when I met my husband was an attorney. Okay. And he also worked for Cedars-Sinai. He was some type of business guy there. And my husband was a little bit older than I was. He was about maybe 9 years older than I was. Okay. And he had lived a different lifestyle. I mean, I lived decent, but he lived, way above what I did. He was the type of person where, he had his own law firm at one point, so it was sometime when I first met him, it was a little intimidating, but I had to eventually learn how to, and he was really good with teaching me things. So I had to be willing to learn because, like I said, I have a lot of toxic masculinity. So,
But see, that's what I want to hear. Like, how does that factor into your relationship? Because to your point, and there's a line that I highlighted right here on page 25 at the bottom of the page. And I am very disappointed that there are no women on this thing, because you all love to talk about relationships in these comments, but nobody's willing to come on the screen. But there, at the bottom of page 25, I say, I'm clear that relationships aren't just about the fun stuff. It's where we go to learn and grow. But you got to be willing to learn and grow. You have to be willing to be teachable. And what I've learned about relationships is love is for everyone.
Right.
For everyone. Relationships are for the mature. Relationships aren't for everyone.
Well, Craig, let me tell you though.
I want to hear how your toxic masculinity factored into your relationship and how you were problematic in the relationship. I want to know how you were problematic, because it's always easy for us, and I'm guilty too. It's always easy for us to point out what somebody else's shortcomings and how they contributed to the demise of the relationship. But I had a friend, she said to me one time, she said, let me tell you something. She said, for every single thing you can learn about someone else, there are 3 things that you can learn about yourself.
I learned that I brought this is when I married my husband, the relationship before we got married, we argued because to me, I didn't like the way he talked to me.
Now, was he talking to you in a didactic kind of way, or was it your toxic masculinity?
Well, to me, I felt like he was talking to me.
No. I don't want to hear about to me. I need you to reflect. I need you to look back and reflect and step outside of it and really be honest with you.
Now that I look at it, now that I look back on it, and I have thought about it, I don't think I wasn't mature enough to take some of the things he was saying and the way, emotionally. Okay. And I had already been in relationships before, and I had refused that. He wasn't going to talk to me in any kind of way. Mm-hmm. If I felt, in that manner, he would say things to me, and then I would tell him, why, I would be like, don't be talking to me like that. And he would say, I would never do anything to hurt you. I would never say anything. Uh-huh. And I'd be like,
Dwayne, what's your sign?
I'm a Virgo.
Well, let me say this to you, because here's what I want to know. When you said you felt like it was the way he was talking to you, and my question is, was he talking to you in a way, or was that where your work began? Because I believe that we all have our triggers, those emotional triggers. You know what I'm saying? Those things tap into.
I think that's what. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I believe so. I believe so because eventually I learned how to communicate with him. You know how you always say communication
is our partner, clarity is our friend.
And I had to learn that. And every time you say it, I think about it.
That is a beautiful thing. But and here's what I know to be true also. We all have like these traumas that we bring into our relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you said you had to learn how to communicate, for me, this is something that I recently had to learn how to language, and I put it in this book. It's about finding your rhythm.
Right.
Finding your rhythm in the relationship, and your rhythm is how you communicate with each other. It's how you learn to get along. It's about those tools. It's about getting those tools to communicate, because I'm going to tell you what somebody said to me years ago as well. She said, I don't communicate to be right. She said, I'm communicating to be heard. And then I heard someone say also, are we going to be better or worse off after this conversation? Because, I'm communicating with you, or we're having a disagreement because I'm trying to fight for this relationship, not to end it. Like, so is this argument going to make us better, or is it going to break us apart? So it's really about learning how to communicate, fair, or fight, quote unquote, fight fair.
Yeah, it took me some time because when we first got together, we were living together in California, and I got to the point in that relationship that I was like, this ain't gonna work, and I ended up moving back to Indiana. And he, maybe like a month later, he packed up all his stuff, sold his house, and moved to Indiana.
See, he was a fighter. And see, here's what I've had to learn. I've had to learn, and this is just a metaphor, I've had to learn who's a sprinter and who's a long distance runner.
Yeah.
I've had some sprinters in my day. I'm looking now for the long distance runner, but you don't know those things when you first meet a person. You don't know who's a long distance runner. Someone is asking, Craig, what sign were you expecting him to say? I thought you were going to say you were a Leo. Say Leo. But here's what I'll say. When you packed up your stuff and moved back to Indiana, and he packed up and came after you, like, I really, and I believe this to be true of myself too, I really do think that men are the most fragile when it comes to emotions. Men are so emotionally fragile. Like, we just don't have the kind of fortitude that women have when it comes to their emotions.
Believe that.
We're so quick to quit. We're so quick to give up. And that's another reason why I think same gender loving relationship, when you talk about two men, I think that's another reason why our relationships tend to crumble prematurely oftentimes. That's one of the layers, one of the reasons. Of course, you got all of the other stuff on top of that, self-loathing and all that kind of stuff. Well, but I think sometimes we're so afraid, we give up before we even give it a try. We're so afraid of being hurt that we just try to, as a protective measure, we try to run before it gets painful.
Because my theory was always, if I left my wife, I'll leave you. Because that was a hard thing to do. You know what I'm saying? I had a child, and I was married, and to leave, to leave home, that was a big courage for me, but I needed to do it. So my theory to anybody that I was dating, like, look, I ain't gonna put up with too much. Don't you hate?
Go ahead. What?
Don't you hate this thing that people always say is that I'll put up with how's it go? I could put up with that, but I'm not gonna put up with anything. I'll put up with some things, but I'm not gonna put up with anything. You know what I'm saying?
But I really think that that's a wall.
Most definitely.
That's a wall. There's a fine line between having a standard, because there are standards where you're like, I'm not gonna put up with just anything. There's a fine line between having a standard, but then having a wall. Those are true. But it's a very thin line. And I think sometimes people are so afraid, so terrified of being hurt or of being the next story. Oh my God, did you hear what happened with Dwayne? Yeah, he had packed up and moved over to California to be with that guy, and that guy just left him. And everybody is so afraid to be the next story. Oh my God, did you hear what happened with Dwayne? He came home and he walked in and his partner and the guy were in the bed. Like, no one's really trying to make an emotional sacrifice for love.
Right.
We're so afraid. We've heard of so many stories. And so I really do think that it's a wall. It's a type of defense mechanism. It's like you're trying to protect yourself in advance of it happening. So it's like, well, I'm not putting up with too much. I'm not, don't you understand what I'm saying? And it's just like, well, you never really get to love if you're not willing to take the risk. You can never get to love if you're not willing to risk a heartbreak.
Right.
You can't get to love without risking a heartbreak, because you're either going to get heartbroken or you're going to get to love. But you can't get to love without, it's just like playing the lottery. You can't win if you're not going to take the chance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think a lot of people want to achieve love and to achieve a stable relationship without taking the risk.
True.
So, so here's on page 27, and I'm still very much so disappointed that there is not a single woman, or even some other guys that are going to get on here. I've dropped the link down here several times for you guys to join the conversation. But anyway, on page 27, it's the first full paragraph. I say, as a kid, I was a finicky eater. I hated when my food touched on the plate. I refused to eat bruised fruit. Ironically, in one section of my life, I wasn't as picky with my choice in the men I dated, aside from looks. I had a tendency to gravitate to the broken ones, the ones who were in a million little pieces about their sexuality. To me, that was such a revelation for me, and it was such an honest moment for me, because how can you be so picky, so persnickety about how you know what I'm saying? Like not wanting your food to touch on them, but you just dating anything that comes by, and like they looked a certain way emotionally, but underneath all of that, they were broken up.
Right.
And there were times that I knew that they were broken up, but you know, you're trying to play Captain Save-A-Ho.
I can fix it.
I can fix it. I can get through this. Let me just, you know. And so it's like, but you were so picky with your food, but you're not as picky with how you date and how you choose. But because of that period in my life, I learned to be more selective, you know, which is part of the reason why I think I've been single for so long too, because I've really learned, like, things that I overlook now, things that I won't tolerate now are things that I would have tolerated before. And it's like, you weren't in relationships before, but you weren't in relationships because you were choosing really great people. You were choosing people, you were overlooking things that you shouldn't have overlooked. That now at 43, I'm just not willing to overlook certain things.
I can honestly say I've dated, but I probably have been in, maybe in my lifetime so far, I've been into maybe 2 good relationships. But other than that, the rest of them were lessons that I had to learn.
Listen, Iyanla Vanzant says all of the time, all things are lessons that God would have us learn. Is there anything else that stood out in here for you? I don't think if there was anything else that I highlighted. But this is one of my favorite chapters. Because and like when I was writing it, and sometimes when I would come on live and I would talk about you know, before the book came out, and I would tell you guys, oh my God, I'm so excited about this book, you know. It was this chapter that I was very excited about, you know, in some of those instances, because I just felt like somebody would get it. I felt like I just felt like I was able to really convey what I was trying to say.
I think you did a good job. I mean, so much of your books that you write, to me, I met you through Maddie, the medicine, and I was intrigued by the fact that you had a book. And like I said, I'm 47, so when I started reading gay authors, I was reading Let Harris. So I read all of his books. And then the other guy that read B-Boy Blues, I read all of his books. And I haven't, I like to read other books, but I prefer to read gay authors. You know what I'm saying? Something I can relate to, you know, something I can learn from. So I was really happy when I found you. And I bought both of your books, and I also bought, and I wanted to hear you read them, so I also got the audibles too.
I appreciate that.
Because I didn't want to miss. Yeah, you know. And I just bought a book for my ex too. A friend of mine that I used to date. I wanted him to have the book. Yeah, I'm waiting on that one to come to him because he needs it.
Sterling, give me 1 second. So Keisha, I don't know how to tell you. I mean, I'm dropping the link down here. I put the link down here. All you have to do is click on the link. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, it's the same way that these guys got on. But welcome, Sterling. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. Where are you? I know Dwayne is in California.
I'm actually in Baltimore.
Oh, my hometown.
Baltimore in the house.
All right, Baltimore.
So, what did you want to contribute? Just jump in.
All right. Well, I wanted to just talk about the inner work because I remember you and Keon did a podcast like maybe 2 months ago, and you were talking extensively about the inner work, but you never really went into detail about breaking down what inner work needs to be done, because I feel like that's part of the issue, that there's a lot of brokenness, especially with Black men, I think. And, you know, I'm speaking to myself too. I mean, I was a late bloomer. I didn't really come to terms with the fact that I was actually gay until probably like 34.
And how old are you now?
I'm 38 now.
Okay. Oh, so he just
yeah, I'm just, you know,
here, Dwayne.
I just got here. And I feel like I'm still kind of coming into myself as well.
Yeah.
When I first came out, it was kind of right when the dating apps were, Tinder, the gay apps have been around, but I didn't know anything about that because I wasn't really into that community per se. And so when I first came out, I started getting on the apps and meeting all these crazy people. And I realized the apps weren't for me. And then, and you know, it was just a mess. And so I retreated, and so I'm still kind of in the retreat mode. I would like to meet someone, but I don't want to meet on the terms of meeting someone on an app per se, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like I have more to offer than, you know, just.
Well, let me say this. You said a couple things that kind of triggered me.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I really do believe that the apps can be an amazing way for us to meet and to partner, to network, to build friendship.
Yeah.
But we have chosen to reduce those apps to just text, right? So it really is a mindset. And I understand that those apps oftentimes are a conduit to the gay community. It's almost like a bridge from your closet, proverbial closet, to the gay community, right? It's almost like a pipeline. And so I understand that it's easy to kind of get hung up in that pipeline, you know, with some of the, you know, the anonymous sex and that kind of thing. But the inner work that I'm talking about is what Dwayne was just talking about, that toxic masculinity. He had to identify that. But I'm also talking about patterns. Like I had a dating pattern. And one of my patterns was gravitating to guys that needed me. Now, it wasn't something that I was doing on a conscious level. It was a subconscious level. And when I say they needed me, I don't mean they needed me financially. I mean, for example, in the first book, Raylan, the one who stole my clothes in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
He was the one that was caught up in the church, and he believed that it was wrong to be gay. And so here I was trying, I thought he needed me.
Yeah.
You know, and I was trying to teach him that two men can have a partnership, and it doesn't have to be fraught with cheating and all of the stuff, stereotypical stuff that we hear about, right? And then I dated another guy who was from Chicago. He had abandonment issues because he had been in and out of the foster care system. So those were patterns that I had to separate. But in the inner work, more of the inner work that I had to do, I remember dating a guy, and this is the same guy I was just referring to a moment ago when I said we were making the same amount of money. I was in my 20s, but he was like 6-7 years older than I am. And I'll never forget, he said to me one day, "Stop talking to me like that. You can't talk to me like that."
Oh, shoot. We have an earthquake.
Yeah. Y'all having an earthquake?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, boy.
Is it still trembling?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay. And he said to me, "You can't talk to me that way. You talk to me like I'm a child." And I had to do some soul searching. And the soul searching that I had to do was trying to figure out why I was speaking to him that way, or why he felt like I was speaking to him that way. And when I really investigated it, I realized that I was talking to him that way because that was how I saw my parents talk to each other. So, for example, when my mom was upset with my dad, she would shut down. She could walk around the house for 2-3 days and wouldn't speak to him. And my dad, when he was upset with her, he would be very curt, very abrasive in his words, and very short. And that was the way that I was with this particular guy. And so that was something that I had to work on after he, we ended up breaking up for other reasons, but when we broke up, that was some of the soul searching that I had to do and some of the work that I had to do in terms of how I communicated with someone that I'm in a relationship with.
Got you.
So it's all of those things, and it's the emotional stuff that inner work that you need to do. It's about like, what are you trying to bring to your relationship? I think a lot of times when we go into relationships, we try to come with as little as possible. We try to sacrifice as little as possible. So in the event that it doesn't work, we can walk away from it unscathed. But what I'm learning and what I've been teaching myself during this time that I've been single is everything is designed to grow you. You can survive another heartache. If this relationship, like every relationship is designed to last for as long as it's supposed to last. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't go into it anymore thinking, well, I wonder if this is just going to last for 1 year or if it's going to last 5 years. Like, don't go into it thinking that way. I go into it thinking I'm going to bring my best self to this relationship. And that's what I try to bring to the dating experience, And I don't think that we always do that. Jason Brown, you're typing these long messages and they're moving by so quickly that I'm not able to read the entire thing. It would really be helpful if you just came online, came on the camera, and you could tell us this stuff. But there was something. Let me see. There was something that I was going to share. But go ahead, if you wanted to jump in and say something, that's fine.
So part of the issue I had, because just, kind of stepping out there, is that the obsession with the sexual preferences when you first meet someone, and that I was encountering in the Black geek. Like I said, I'm fresh new. I mean, I didn't even know what some of these terms meant, to be quite honest with you. But when when you first start meeting people, even if you're meeting just on a casual, just to meet, not really as a sexual thing, that's between 3 or 4 conversations in, that's the question, right? And then they determine if whatever you say, if it's not what they're interested in, they're automatically not interested. Doesn't matter whether you're a good person or not. If you are not, let's say, the top or the bottom that they want or they're looking for, they immediately they X you out and they put you right into the friend zone automatically. And I'm like, why are we doing this? I mean, I never understood that, because, obviously male and female is clearly what's going to happen, but it just seemed like, I think in the gay relationship, it's just it's so obsessed on that most people can't move past that. If it's not a sexual compatibility situation for them, they wipe you away, which is disturbing because you do meet some good people. And then when you get into that conversation, all of a sudden they want nothing to do with you.
And that's why I think it's important to figure out from the gate, like what each other's intention is.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you're just coming in for sex, but if you're approaching it for partnership, it's really important to be clear about what you're looking for. But see, that's another layer when it comes to men. We oftentimes aren't upfront about what we want because we don't want to look too interested too soon.
Yeah.
Somebody posted something up here earlier. I don't remember who it was, but she said that's how she approaches relationships. She goes into it trying to bring as little as possible because she doesn't know, how long it's gonna last or what it's really gonna, if it's gonna really evolve into anything. But on page 30 at the top, I say I've experienced relationships that were strictly about me planting seeds for someone else to harvest and watch grow. And what I mean by that is Every single person that you meet is not about a relationship for you.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's about you just nurturing them. You understand what I'm saying? Like you can have that romantic energy, you can have that chemistry, but it's not always about it being a relationship. Sometimes it's about you helping them heal their wounds and them helping you heal theirs. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I used to get really frustrated, like when I would date certain people and I really liked them. And I'm like, well, why didn't it? You know, sometimes it really is about you planting seeds in them, shining them up, buffing them rather, for someone else to enjoy. You know, I'm not really big on the Bible and all that stuff, but there's a verse that says, some plant, some water, others enjoy the harvest. Sometimes it's not your harvest to enjoy. And somebody is harvesting yours. Somebody is nurturing your harvest now. You know what I'm saying? If you think about it in that way. Eric said you done made a man for the next man. I didn't quite mean it in that way. But to your point too, Sterling, at the bottom of page 30, there's a section that's called Work on Gradual. And the very first line is, there's something really sweet about gradual. But we want what we want now and yesterday. That's true. You know, it's like sometimes we don't allow it to bloom. We don't allow it to just like blossom. You know what I'm saying? Because we're so excited. We get so excited, and that's when we sometimes smother the opportunity. Or let's just say it evolves into a relationship. And we sometimes smother it because, you know, we're so afraid of losing it that we hold on to it so tightly. And this is why I say all of the time on here, love is not ownership or control. Sometimes we look at our relationships as possessions. I don't want you to be friends with them because they're in the bad influence. No, you don't get to decide who a person's friends are. You don't get to decide whether or not they're going to go to the strip club. Now, you can say to him or her, I really would prefer that you didn't do that. You know, this is how that makes me feel when you go to these strip clubs. But you don't get to decide what they do. You're sharing your life with them. They're sharing their life with you. They have given you their life. And based on the choices that they make for their life, you then have to decide if you want to participate in that, if you want to be a part. But you don't get to decide whether or not, you know, what they do with their time and with their life. You only get to decide if you're going to participate in it. Shauna said, Craig, you need a couch, a chair, a pen, and a pad. I got my paper right here and my pen. To remind myself of little things that I wanted to say. You know? But yeah, so this for me, it was very enlightening writing it. I laughed at myself and some of the things that I did. In particular with the graduate student that I was dating that was in college. He was, you know, working on his PhD. And I incessantly. Incessantly, because I really wanted him to like me. I wanted a chance. I wanted my shot. And it's like, you don't ever have to campaign.
So when you messaged, he didn't respond immediately, because you say he didn't respond immediately, but he did respond like days later. Right. See, I would have already just stopped texting. I would have been like, you know what?
And I should have too. I should have.
So people have done that to me. So I'm like, I've gotten the hint. Like if you give me one word text or you spacing things out, because I look at behavior too. If you were texting me a bunch and then all of a sudden something happens, I text you and like I don't hear from you in 2 days and it's like a one word answer, then I'm like, okay, clearly.
And here's what I say to that. Effort is the only way to communicate interest. If you're not putting forth effort, then you're not interested in me.
That's
the way I see it.
You know what, Craig? I remember one time I met this guy, and he was really a nice guy. Years later, he said, "You know, I really wanted to talk to you, but I was afraid because I thought maybe you wouldn't talk to me because of the way you carried yourself. And I looked at him. I said, "Well, that's good that you didn't talk to me because if you felt that way, we weren't a match."
Because he's already coming in with insecurities.
Yeah.
And you would have been trying to reassure him through the entire relationship.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, a relationship can't heal insecurity. See, that's, again, Sterling, that's that inner work that you need to be working on before you get with somebody. You need to be working on that kind of stuff. Bay says, what's she say? Bay. She says, page 26, can you speak on letting go? How's she typing stuff in here and can't come on the screen? Letting go. What do you mean in particular about letting go? I don't know what you mean on page 26. On page 26, one of the things that stood out on this page for me was it's the paragraph. It's the first full paragraph, but it's technically the second one in the middle. I remember a friend telling me, "I'd rather be alone, feeling lonely, than be someone and feel like I'm by myself."
And there's a word right there.
Listen, when she said that to me, Sterling, oh God, wait, what did you just say? She said, "I'd rather be alone, feeling lonely, than be with someone and feel like I'm by myself." It's like, because you're with somebody, you're in love and you're lonely.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, so I go on to say she was so frustrated with her relationship because it wasn't producing the results that she craved. I was reminded that it's better to be single if being in a relationship means compromising the joy of being yourself or sacrificing peace of mind in exchange for a dead-end relationship, only to find yourself in love and lonely.
Yeah.
But
been in one of those.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Been in one of those.
Yeah. Did you want to speak on it?
I'm okay. So I met this guy. He was an ex-Marine. I dated him for about 2 years. And it was a weird relationship for me. It made me, I think that relationship made me bitter because I got to the realization in my mind that everything that glitters is not gold. And to me, he glittered in the sense that he was masculine. He was an ex-Marine. He had a lot of things going on, but it just seemed like the relationship, was all about him in the sense he didn't know how to receive love. And I think I had a lot of love to give him. And like when I would hug him, he would feel uncomfortable. He would say, "Go ahead, don't stop. I'm gonna get used to it." And I was like, what in the world is this? It was just a weird relationship.
Wait, say that again.
So I would hug him, like say, we were together, and I would come home from work and I would give him a hug, and he wouldn't know how to receive it.
And so what did he say to you?
He would say, "Go ahead, don't," because I would be hesitant, like maybe I should do this. Maybe you're not comfortable with this. And he would say, "No,
I'll get used to it."
Yeah. He was a jerk after all of that, but
But see, in this particular chapter, dating, I talk about how we sometimes try to train people to be in a relationship. You don't have to train anybody to be in a relationship with you. I believe that whatever you're looking for is also looking for you.
I believe that now.
It's a matter of whether or not you have the patience and the discipline to hold out for it.
True.
Now, are you actively seeking this, or are you kind of waiting for just opportunities to present itself?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's the energy that you put out. Like when I'm talking to my friends about relationships and what I want, and I really do believe in prayer. Like when I say to you guys, pray every night, I literally pray every night.
Every night.
And throughout the day, like I'm really talking about stuff. Like that vision board That vision board thing is serious for me. It's you know what I'm saying? Like, I really do believe that you can manifest.
Yes, I see that.
You know what I mean? Whatever it is, it's not just like your career and stuff like that. Like, I really do think you can manifest things in your life. And so part of what I pray for is a partner who will love me the way I need to be loved. A partner who will mirror me, a partner who will not be intimidated by my power, for lack of a better word, like my gifts, the things that make me special, the things that make you special. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want a partner that's gonna look at me like I'm magic. Because I want to look at him like he's magic. You understand what I'm saying? Like I want him to look at me like, damn, I'm with. That's my baby. Like, I'm with him. You know what I'm saying? I want him to be proud to be with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be who's afraid. You know, like they're so afraid to show their feelings and to show their affection and to show how happy they are to be with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want them to be like, that's him. You know what I'm saying? That there's just, this is him. Like, you know, just excited. So that's the energy that I put out, because that's what I want to come back. You know, and it's also about actively choosing better. You know, happiness doesn't just happen. It's a series of good decisions. It's a series of decisions that you put in place one after the next. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just as calculating about my career or my love life as I am my career. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm as strategic. You know, when I start to feel like I'm not really getting from you what makes my heart sing, then I got to reconsider some things. I got to move some things around. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I've gotten really good at choosing and eliminating. Gotcha.
So like when you wrote on page 37, finding the right fit, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. But a part of finding the right fit is breaking your old patterns. Like, Dwayne, like how you used to date these guys who were damn near closeted.
Right.
You understand? You know, and I think in terms of gay men, I think that's a part of the challenge with us. A lot of times we go through that phase where we're so excited about this guy that's almost closeted. That's just like, oh, great. Yeah. You know, we're so excited about that. You know what I'm saying? Once you figure out what your pattern is, I told you what my pattern was. It was me getting with people that I felt needed me. Like I told you, there was a guy who had the abandonment issues and the guy who thought it was wrong to be gay. Excuse me. I felt like it was my work to teach them or show them otherwise. And that's not like, I want to be a partner. I don't want to be a therapist. Like, that's the work that you should do while you're by yourself. That's the work that you should be doing in your singleness. Like, I don't have to teach you, you know, how to be in relationship with me.
And you talk about in the book that you don't have a type anymore.
I don't have a type.
Could you elaborate?
Standards. Now, there's a difference between standards and having a type.
Of course.
My type was dark skin, nice teeth, beautiful body because he either worked out or he just had a natural build because he was from the South. You know, nice thighs, nice booty. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like he probably was from up top, like New York, Philly, Maryland, Tennessee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You wasn't planned out.
But he was built like he was from Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Or Mississippi. But so that was my type. But I realized that my type didn't work. And so I had to focus on standards. And this is what I say to women a lot of times. Stop focusing on a type. You know what I'm saying? Women be like, oh, well, he has to be this tall. He has to make this amount of money. And
Right.
When you get locked into a type, you're locking yourself into a pattern. This says, Craig, speak on exterior beauty versus internal beauty and character. Sometimes we choose one over the other. End up settling. I agree with that. You know, because and that's basically what I was just saying just now. It's almost like I was so caught up on what he looked like on the outside.
But isn't that the gay community though? Most of it is basically on physical looks, on size, and just, I mean, the obsession with size and this, it's ridiculous. I mean,
I think that's people, period. I don't want to just say that that just,
right.
I know.
Yeah, that's everybody.
I think that's people, period. You know what I'm saying? We do get caught up in, because love doesn't always come packaged the way that we expect it to, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But see, again, that goes back to having a specific type. You gotta have, because men are more materialistic than women, straight and gay men.
Yeah.
Yes.
They want their woman to look a certain way, but that's not always, the person that's gonna really connect with your soul. And then, like, sometimes, we get so used to how a guy is supposed to treat us, or we're supposed to be, what I'm saying? You get caught up in that kind of stuff. And because that's a pattern that you've established. Because I think, again, our choices, not just in like the kind of career that we go into or the college that we may go into or the person that we date, we sometimes are influenced by the people, like our friends and family members. Like, talk about this somewhere in the book. I don't think it's in this particular chapter, but think about the life choices that you made for yourself that weren't really your own choices. I can't begin to tell you how many people that I know went to a particular college or majored because their parents wanted them to, or because their parents said, no, I'm paying for this, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, a full set of teeth is still important. Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But we do that in terms of who we date. I know women do it for sure. Women won't date a particular guy because he doesn't have a particular status at his job. Like, I have a friend. She's a Southern belle, if you will. She's from Virginia. And I think I shared this on here one time before. She said to me she would rather date a teacher than a garbage man. And if you're in New York City, a garbage man makes more than probably a teacher or some teachers where they live. But because of the status, she's like, oh, no, I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? And so I think sometimes we lock ourselves into because it's almost like, well, what are my girlfriends going to think if I'm dating a garbage man? What are my girlfriends going to think if he's a manager at a McDonald's or whatever it is for you? You know what I mean? And I think we're influenced by the music that we listen to.
Right.
I've said this before, and I definitely write about it in this particular chapter. Like, there was a time that my playlist was full of like these love songs, but they were like heartbreak songs, and
Phyllis Hyman,
the Kelly Prices, and all the heartbreak. And then, but I wasn't really thinking about how that influenced my choices and my expectations. Like, when I would go out and I'd be dating people, I would assume that my life, and it wasn't even a conscious thing, it was subconscious. I would start to think about, I guess on a subconscious level, I was thinking that my dating relationship would emulate what was, in those songs. And so I had to reorganize my playlist. Like, I still love, sad songs, and because sometimes it's just the singer. But Sade and people like that. I had to change that up. Listen, I need to put a little balance in here. I can't listen to that all of the time. And same thing for your TV shows. Like, those of you that love watching that TV show, Cheaters. I used to love watching Cheaters. But then I started to think, like, this is really informing my idea of relationships. I started to think that my relationship is going to do this. So you have to be very clear about the poison, if you will, that you're
in your mouth. Yeah.
Yes. And nothing against Love and Hip Hop, but I've never seen any of those franchises because to me, just on the surface, it just looks too toxic for me. Like, I don't need to see that. I have other TV that I watch that's trash, but that's just a level of trash that I just don't want to see.
What do you?
But yeah. So I'm trying to see if there are any other comments over here, since you guys are the only two that were courageous enough to come.
I'm kind of shocked. I thought this would be a full house.
You and me both. I thought there were gonna be so many women in here. We all look. Well, I'm not gonna speak for y'all, but I look rough because I ain't had no haircut.
I know. That's why I got this hat on.
Right. So
barbershops are closed, and
I made an appointment to get a haircut today, and I thought about it, and I said, I don't think I'm gonna do it.
They're open where you at?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, my barber, he owns his shop and he's taking appointments only.
Oh, that makes sense. Makes sense.
My God.
And I can't chance it because I don't know where he been before he came to the barbershop.
Right. And even like you have folks that are doing like mobile cuts. But it's like how many people have you cut before you got to me, you know? So
Right. And I'm a dialysis patient, so I don't fool with that. I'm not trying to catch nothing.
Well, I think I've said everything that I want to say about this particular chapter, unless there's anything else that you guys want to add to it, or anybody in the comments want to point out something in the chapter that I haven't mentioned.
Are you going to? I know we touched on inner work and that kind of. Is there a way that you could do like a breakout session? I feel like there's a need and I'm speaking just for myself. Need in the Black gay community for healthy dating protocol, so to speak. I don't know if that's something that you're interested in doing, or
I would love to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly, in a perfect world, I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine last night. It would be an amazing thing if I could be on some sort of a speaking tour where I'm talking to LGBTQ or Black gay men groups, because you have in New York, you have and I don't even know if these places still exist, but they have like groups like that. Like I know in California, I used to live in California, and they had what's the name of the group? Where are you in California, Dwayne?
I'm in Marietta.
Oh, okay.
I'm in Riverside County.
Okay. But yeah, they have different groups around the country. So I mean, it would be great to like open up this dialogue, to talk about dating and love and fear, like to do like some sort of a workshop. Page 33, ego, second paragraph. So I say, we can become so accustomed to all sorts of dysfunction that it becomes impossible to recognize healthy when it finally shows up in our life. But the beauty of patterns is that we can break them at any point once we're honest with ourselves about them. After all, happiness doesn't just happen. It's a series of good decisions. But first, we must give up on what was so that we can finally enjoy what is. Yeah. Let me see. So Keisha is saying, even straight women, this conversation resonates with me. Okay, so we can't cut the women out.
No. I mean, hey, I think this
book tour would have been so important, because I really wanted to have these conversations. This definitely would have been one of the chapters that I would have read from and would have wanted to talk from. But of course, with this pandemic, I was really looking forward to it. And so this was the next best thing was, to be able to come on here and have the conversation. But I mean, maybe, who knows? I may revisit it, and actually come out, come to different cities and be able to have the conversation. But I would love
most definitely.
Retreat, like a men's retreat. Like I did one. There's a guy in Dwayne Jenkins. He's out of Nashville. Are you guys familiar with him?
I'm not.
Okay. But yeah, he does a retreat, a gay men's retreat. And so that maybe I can convince him to try to, include me in on something that he has coming up.
Or some type of online coaching or
yes.
I mean, that could be another revenue stream for you.
I would love to do it. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I love the idea. I really Pride versus ego. You gave me clarity, Craig. I wish you would come online. I really want to hear from you. Allison said those issues affect both hetero and homosexual relationship. Yes.
So like you always say, the Black men and the gay men and the female are always, attached.
Black gay men and Black women?
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely do. I believe that we have so much in common. I think on the surface, people think that what we have in common is that we love to shop, we love nice.
Not everybody. Not all.
It's deeper than that. Underneath that, what it is, it's our the common denominator is how we date and love men.
Right.
The denominator is are the frustrations that we encounter dating and loving men, Black men. We have similar disappointments, similar frustrations, similar letdowns. That's what we have in common. Even if we never have the conversation, that's what's underneath it.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what's underneath the
I agree.
bond. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that strongly.
Who is this? You could speak about it at the Adoti Brotherhood Retreat. When and where is that? That would be great. I mean, I'm open to it. I would love to do something like that. But I really do appreciate you guys coming on. I mean, you guys really, you helped me carry this conversation. So I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good.
From Baltimore?
It's a lot in there.
What'd you say, Craig?
Are you originally from Baltimore?
I am. Yep. 21133.
2112. Wait, which one is it?
21133. Randallstown.
Randallstown. Okay.
Yeah.
Robert says, I know Robert. No, I don't know Robert. He says, I love groups where Black gay men can openly discuss our trials and tribulations. Go for it, Craig. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
I think so. But listen, I appreciate you guys coming on. I really, really appreciate your contribution. It was really, really great. Next Friday, we're going to be discussing chapter 3. And I want to see some more women on here. Listen, but this chapter 2, it was so long. It was so extensive. Like,
yes.
You definitely need to reread it. This is definitely a chapter you have to reread and kind of have it sink in just so you don't miss any points because it's full of points.
Yes. I mean, I remember when I was recording the audio version, I was like, dear God, I got more chapters. Like, and I just kept looking. And, and even when I was writing it, because I said to my to my editor, I said, this chapter is so long, I need you to help me break this into sections. So it was actually her idea to break, like there's a chapter called not a chapter, but there's a section in the dating chapter called Moving Forward Through Time.
Yes.
Finding the right fit. And then working on gradual. Like, she helped me break it down because it's so much. And I said, I don't want to choke them up. I don't want to get, I need to separate it so they can see the different chunks. And so she did a beautiful job with that. But next Friday, we're talking about love and fear.
Yeah.
And the quote that opens that chapter says, separate your instincts and intuition. Separate your instincts and intuition from your insecurities and fear. Separate your instincts and intuition from your insecurities and fears. So listen, I'm really looking forward to next week. I hope you guys are going to come on. Dwayne, you're always welcome. Of course, Sterling, you are as well. Keisha said, I'll come on next week. All right, Keisha, I'm going to be looking for you.
All right, Cole. I'm going to see you on Friday. Just let you know, we just had an earthquake. We had 2 earthquakes, 4.5.
Wow.
Here in California. So
I saw your camera. Did you see his camera moving, Sterling?
Oh, yeah, I did.
I saw your camera moving.
Rolling.
I didn't know it was an earthquake, but wow.
Yeah, we just had 2 of them.
Yes, hetero women are invited as well, Shauna. You all were invited now. I appreciate you guys. If you guys need to purchase the book, you can. The website is rolling at the bottom, or you can download the Audible. You can download it on your device, your iPad or your Kindle, or whatever you use. As always, brush your teeth, floss your teeth, brush your tongue, and say your prayers. Take a few moments for yourself. This is why I say your prayers, because it's not just about asking for things, but it's also about, clarity and just, all of those things.
Yeah.
Put your life in perspective, slowing down long enough to put your life in perspective. All right.
All
so
right.
Thank you so much. Have an amazing night. Have an amazing
week. Thank you.
On this weekend. We'll see.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, take care now.
All right. You too.